All right, guys, you know what time it is. It's time to talk about the latest drama surrounding the New York Jets. Haason Reddick wants to be traded. Let's discuss. So this is going to be a slightly annoyed podcast here today. Here at the Sports Talk Nation, got to get my thoughts out here about this Haason Reddick drama. There's a lot to... Now, look, there's a lot I could be upset about tonight. And there's a lot of things I could have done tonight. I was thinking about doing a Mets thing tonight because, hey, look, their season's falling apart right now. The Grimace era seems to be over. All the fun the Mets had in June is dead and buried at this point after they lost 6 out of 10 on the road, including games swept by Seattle. But they play the A's this week, so we'll see. If you're a Yankee fan, you could be upset because, hey, your Yankees right now are losing to the White Sox in the middle of that ball game. But there is one thing that kind of tops all of that right now, and that's this drama here with the New York Jets with regard to Haason Reddick. And let's just be honest with you. Let's just call this what it is. It is all about one thing and one thing only. Not just money, not just a contract extension, but it's all about leverage at this point. The Jets and Reddick, as we all know, have been deadlocked in a total stalemate in negotiating a contract extension since the Jets acquired him back in April, in which they swapped a conditional third-round pick to the Philadelphia Eagles in 2026. And all that has resulted in for the Jets is just a complete headache, because you have a player in Reddick who is a great player, no doubt about it, two-time Pro Bowler. One of the league leaders in sacks. That's one of the reasons why the Jets were willing to let Bryce Huff walk away, and one of the reasons why they were willing to trade away John Franklin Myers is because they had a guy in Reddick who was going to be able to get to the quarterback on a routine basis this year. And now there's questions about whether he may even take the field in green and white this season, and if that is the case, that is going to be an absolute disaster for both sides. Get into more of that in a minute. But Reddick, look, he gave the Eagles a hard time. He wanted a contract, $25 to $28 million annually. The Eagles said, no, thank you. They put him on the block, put him on the trade block. They knew it would be a tough play for a lot of teams. The Jets decided to make that move and bring in Reddick. But what's so odd about this is that the Jets offered Reddick an opportunity to have his contract reworked, to have an extension. And when they offered him a contract extension, he rejected it because it didn't match the numbers that he wanted. Yet the deal still went through, and we have been in this tit-for-tat ever since between the Jets and Haason Reddick. The Jets told him straight up, if you want to earn more money here at the Jets, you got to show up, you got to perform at a high level, and so far he has not shown up. Outside of a press conference in which Haason Reddick said that, hey, look, he's happy to be here, plans to be here for a long time, we'll let the process play itself out, he has been a no-show. There was a no-show in mandatory minicamp back in June. Remember, back in June, everyone was going crazy about Aaron Rodgers missing camp, and you had Reddick missing minicamp at the same time, and I said, the bigger story is Haason Reddick. Well, Rodgers, yes, was busy on his vacation that he had already pre-planned to Egypt. Reddick was walking around in Japan. Where has this guy been? It's like, where's Waldo? But the fact is this. The Jets also told Reddick, look, we won't rule out even a contract extension in season. They would discuss adjustments to his current deal, which is about $14.5 million. They would put in some heavy on-field performance incentives into the deal. Flip money that wasn't guaranteed into guaranteed money. Anything to try to get him into the facility in Florham Park to get him to not just commit to being a part of this team and then move forward on a contract negotiation, but also get him into the playbook, get him with his defensive coaches, get him to meet with Robert Saleh and obviously Jeff Ulbrich, and get him into the system. And so far, up to this point, none of that has happened. So the question is, who's got the leverage? Right now, the Jets have all the leverage. They have all of it. Because if you're Haason Reddick, and look, I think his agent's playing a big part of this. I mean, it's pretty obvious. If you're Haason Reddick, and you're demanding a trade right now, 4 months after you had already gotten traded from a very good team in the Philadelphia Eagles, an Eagles team that has been to the playoffs numerous years in a row, was in a Super Bowl 2 years ago, and you demanded a trade and got that trade out of that team, and you're now here with the Jets, a team that, a lot of people think could be a playoff team this year, maybe even a Super Bowl team this year, and you don't want to be there either. Where you think you're going to end up next? Let's just say for the sake of argument, the Jets decided, you know what, we're washing our hands of this, and they decided to trade him. Not that they're going to. The Jets are steadfast that they're not going to do that. I understand that. Let's just say they just washed their hands of it and traded him. Where is he going to go? Not to mention, he has no value right now. His value is taking a huge hit because of this, and the Jets can't exactly recoup a third-round pick they traded for to get him here in the first place. So it's not worth it from the Jets' standpoint, and certainly for Reddick, he's losing money virtually every day. Not just from this standpoint, but also from the standpoint of a negotiation, but also the fines are incredible. I mean, let me just break this down for you. This is on SNY. Reddick already foregoed $250,000 in a workout bonus, a $100,000 fine for skipping minicamp. He's been absent for the first 21 days of training camp. That totals an additional $1.5 million or $50,000 per day in fines. He is subject to $300,000 in fines because he's missed the first 5 days of camp. I mean, this is crazy. Now, if he were to hold out into the regular season, then the Jets would retain his rights into next year, and we could be having this thing. He could then, at that point, just sit out the entire season and cost himself $15 million. Now, that's a pretty penny. I can't imagine him wanting to do that. I would think at some point he's going to want to show up. So, from that standpoint, it behooves him to try to get to camp as soon as possible and get this thing fixed as soon as possible. But at the same time, if, let's say, we get into the regular season and the Jets struggle out of the gate, remember, they do play a good San Francisco team, and I know the 49ers have their issues. They're trying to trade Brandon Ayuk, possibly to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's been held up for the last week now. But if, let's just say, the Jet defense looks terrible and Brock Purdy lights it up against the Jet defense and they don't rush the passer, now Reddick has leverage. And now the Jets have to kind of bend the knee a little bit and go back to the negotiating table with him. So, right now, the leverage play continues to, like a seesaw, back and forth. Right now, the Jets have a little more leverage than Reddick does. Now, where I will be critical of the Jets is this. They could have taken a different route on all of this. They didn't need this drama. They really didn't need this drama, guys. They could have easily re-signed Bryce Huff, 3 years, $51 million. That's what he got from the Philadelphia Eagles, ironically, a younger player. And it's ironic, as I just said, because the Eagles sign Huff, they get rid of Reddick, they dump him on the Jets. Same old Jets tricks, I guess they could say. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be saying that. But they could have kept Huff. Certainly wouldn't have been a bargain, but it certainly wouldn't have been the headache that this is right now with Reddick. They also had to trade John Franklin Myers, who was a stalwart on that front seven last year. They had to trade him for financial reasons in order to situate themselves here with Reddick. So, two very important cogs in this Jet defense are no longer here, and the guy they brought in because of that hasn't shown up at all. And that, unfortunately, makes the Jets look pretty bad. And then here's another key aspect of this whole thing. I said this on Saturday after the game. I said about that preseason game against Washington, this was all about the defensive line because you have to see who's going to step up with Reddick out in this negotiation, this holdout. And I wanted to see what Will McDonald would do, and it really wasn't a whole heck of a lot. Yes, he got a pressure on the quarterback, and everyone's saying he's put on some more muscle. He's lost a lot of the fat, if you will, and he's looked a little bit faster in camp, and I understand all of that. But in the game action, 11 plays, didn't record a tackle, didn't record a sack, got penalized on a play. This is a big year for Will McDonald because he needs to be the guy. If Haason Reddick isn't here, who's going to be that guy? Is it going to be Will McDonald? Is it going to be Michael Clemens, who is coming off of a couple of kind of years where sometimes, as we saw in Cleveland last year, sometimes his emotion gets the better of him? These guys have to step up. They have to be those guys. They have to be the guys that are going to lead and also create pressure. Can't just be Quinn Williams and Quincy Williams all the time. Some of these other guys have to step up big time. And maybe we saw something out of a Leonard Taylor III or a Hector who looked pretty good in the preseason game. But these guys all are going to be the ones the Jets are going to have to rely upon until Reddick signs with this team or comes back or decides to join, if he does at all this year. So that makes this even more important and more about leverage. And asking the question, who has leverage? Right now, again, the Jets have leverage, but up to a point. And if the one way the Jets continue to have leverage is if somebody like Will McDonald has a monster season. Monster season. I understand the guy wants to make money. He wants to earn what he feels he is due. And I can certainly understand that. He's a great player. Every player should go out there and try to demand what they can get the most money possible. But this is getting ridiculous. 21 days into camp, and now, not even 4 months into him being here with the Jets, he demands a trade. My word. I'm beside myself. I don't even know what to say. I'm tempted to say, and I don't want to get myself in trouble here, I'm tempted to say maybe the Jets should just cut their losses and move on, but that's just to cut their nose to spite their face. And as I just said, the Jets right now have the leverage. Reddick does not. And we'll see how this thing plays out. I got the feeling, and there was that report that we mentioned the other day with Zach Rosenblatt, that there's a chance this could go into the regular season and it could get ugly. Well, now it's going to get ugly, and I would think we're going to be sitting here in another 2 to 3 weeks, unless something changes dramatically here in the next 3 weeks, which is always possible, where Haason Reddick could be missing regular season games, and then we will see what's going to happen at that point. Who is going to blink? Because someone has to blink at some point. This is 0 hour now. We are now 3 weeks out from the regular season. And if you are a Jet fan, you are on pins and needles already this year. You are on pins and needles already this year because of the health of the quarterback who's 40 years old, because you have a team that has a lot of young stars on this team, and the expectations are higher than they've been in a long time. You're coming off of a disappointing season last year. The last thing you want is to have something hijack this season. And this would hurt this defense if Haason Reddick isn't a part of it at this point. It's pretty obvious. So, folks, leave your thoughts below. Tell me how you feel about it. What do you think the Jets should do at this point? Wait out? Bend the knee, trade him, try to come to terms with him on his contract. Leave your thoughts below. We'll talk to you next time.